Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another podcast, to the Bounce Back Better podcast. And my name's Hilary Saxton. For those of you who don't know me, today I'm going to be talking about the importance of self-awareness, why it really matters, and the difference it can make to your life when you are more self-aware, when you are really taking notice or understanding yourself. Because self-awareness is like holding up that mirror to your face, but it's not just to your face, it's to your actions, your thoughts, your emotions. It's about understanding why you do what you do and how that impacts your life and the people all around you. So have you ever snapped at somebody or stopped and looked at a reaction you may have had, only to realize that it really wasn't about them. It was about you because you were stressed and tired. And that's where self-awareness really steps in, when you can catch yourself before those moments happen. And I have to tell you, I'm definitely one of those people that needs to work on the pause between the A and the B. You know, A is the action and then there's a pause, and then B is the reaction, or B is the pause and C is the reaction, depending on which model you use. But those moments are really useful. So today we're going to unpack self-awareness, and I want you to have some realizations where you could improve and understand why it's important to really know yourself, because the benefits and side effects from that are huge. So what are they? Let's just look at some of the benefits of self-awareness. It's better decision making, because your inner compass, the place that your true north, where you like to go, it's like having a compass leading you the right way. It points all the time to the things that are important to you, and it guides you on decisions that align you to your values and goals. Like I said before, pausing before a reaction, sometimes that pause before a yes or a no, but more often than not a yes. That pause before you say yes to something because it doesn't really align with you, or maybe you've gone past a point of doing something. You don't need to be doing that anymore. And there's that time that you need to step back and say, well, that's not for me. But that's only when you really know you and you can make those decisions based on what's important for you. So when I talk about that, I'm really talking about goals and values, but mostly I'm talking about your values, understanding what's important to you. I did a whole podcast on values. So if you're interested in knowing how to refine and polish and find out which your values are, go back to one of the episodes. I could probably put a note in the show notes as to what episode that was, and do the process, because when you understand your values, you start infusing them into your life and you are so much happier. But like in this case, I'm talking about understanding yourself. So understanding your values so that the decisions you make are aligned with what's important to you, and you're not just going through motions saying yes to things that really don't matter to you, or you don't really want to be doing, or even saying no to things that you should be saying yes to because that's a habit that you're into and you're living confined within a set of rules that no longer apply to you. But until you are self-aware, until you are aware of those rules that you're living by, well, you won't be able to do that. So self-awareness is really important for that. It also offers emotional intelligence, because it's like your superpower cape. When you know you, those times you might be somewhere and somebody says something, you're like, oh yeah, I do that. That's a type of self-awareness. And sometimes it's around a negative thing. Oh yeah, God, I do that. And you would have heard me say on this podcast plenty of times, I use the time excuse. And that's me having a self-awareness around, I say I don't have time for it. But is that really a level of self-sabotage that I add more stuff in? I say yes to more stuff, so I don't do the stuff that I actually need to be doing because I have a knowledge gap, or I don't feel confident enough in that area. Maybe there's another reason that I don't want to do something, and this could be you. That's why I'm pointing it out. And so we add stuff in. Yes, of course, I'll drive somebody to there, or I'll go and do that, or I'll babysit, or we do things that are slowing us down, or I'll belong to a particular club, or you do things that don't really work in your favor, but you add them in so you do become and stay time poor. Then you can avoid doing that thing that you really ultimately want to do, but it's outside of your comfort zone. And that takes a massive level of self-awareness. So reflecting on you is so important. I love the analogy of going to the movies. If you were to go to the movie of you, and you were sitting there and you were watching the movie, but this is about you and your life. when you watch it, you're watching that movie with your interpretation of life, your lens. Remember, I talk about you see life through your lenses. So you've got your lens on. You're looking at life through the values that matter to you instinctively, the things that are important to you. So when you're doing that, when you're watching that movie of you could pretend that's another person. And you're thinking, she should do that. He should do that. That's not the right move for you. You can think that. So when you come up with the ideas or the solutions or the answers or the advice for that person, that's the advice you need to take for yourself. And that's a really useful tool. So when you're stuck on a decision, picture yourself walking into the movies. You can have popcorn if you need to, Diet Coke, whatever, real Coke, whatever you drink, glass of wine, probably in my case. Take a seat, watch the movie, watch that person, and you're indecisive about something, you can't make a decision. As you're watching the movie and that thing is playing out in front of you, but you disassociate you from them, like you don't look at that person as you, but you are already interpreting that through your values, through your ideals. What is the answer then? And that is a great way when you're stuck, and instead of staying stuck, to be able to move forward. That is just massive. And it creates a level of emotional intelligence. So like I said, emotional intelligence is like your superpower cape. And when you're emotionally aware, that you're like a superhero and you can control your own powers. You don't have to let anger or stress or fear or indecisiveness or anything else hold you up. You can be intelligent enough to know what's stopping you. So think about something that you know that you do. You push the snooze button in the mornings because you don't want to get out of bed early, but you curse yourself later because you wish you did, because your day gets busy and you don't get to exercise. Otherwise, there's things that you're doing and you'll be like, oh, I wish I didn't do that. So take notice of what it is that you're doing that you don't like. And then we need to look at ways of, becoming aware of them and putting in place things to stop that happening. Also, when you become a little bit more self-aware, you strengthen relationships. You can build bridges where it matters. You can burn bridges where it matters. You can communicate in your style and you can understand your style. Now, I talk about the captain, the clown, the counselor, and the conductor, the 4 personality types based on the DISC profiling system, the D, I, S, and C. So when you communicate naturally, you communicate in your style. So me naturally communicating is direct, bullet pointed, not waffly, straight to the point, giving you the goal and the results that I'm after, or, asking you for your advice with my goal in mind and what I'm after. That's how I communicate. If I go into a shop and I want to buy something, I want to know, how much is it? Do you have it in store now? Can I take one today? What are the benefits? Anything I need to know. But then there are other personalities that want to know absolutely everything. My daughter Georgia, oh my gosh, she's such a high conductor, all about the details. She wants to know how much it costs and do you deliver, and there's a pamphlet about it and how we care for it and all of that stuff that just irrelevant to me. I figure that just goes with it. When I need to know, I'll find out. And it's not right and it's not wrong. It's just the way we are. So there are different styles, and look at the way you might trip you up. Do you not make decisions? Do you avoid them? Like the counselor doesn't like a decision. They like to take their time on things, and they do not like to feel pushed. But you've got to be careful that doesn't become a habit, and then you don't move forward at all. And then with the clown, just distraction. Everything is just, next bouncing ball, boing, 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 off they go. They're just following the next fun thing and never actually follow through. So I was on relationships then, but your relationship, that helps you with communication. So when you understand which style you are, you understand how you communicate, how you want it to be communicated to. So if you're a client, they should talk to you your way. But if you're working with a client, you need to talk to them their way. So it's about how the interaction rolls out. And what are the emotional triggers? Now ask yourself, what are your emotional triggers? What do you have that you feel a trigger? So when you're triggered, when your brain is threatened, and let's just say somebody says something to you like, maybe you were late to work a little bit, 2 minutes, and instead of saying, oh, cracky, even just that, everything okay? I noticed you're a bit late. You might react to that thinking, I wasn't late, it was just a minute. Some people react because that's something they naturally react to, when the other person could have genuinely been asking, are you okay? So there'll be triggers that you have, and then you will react to. What happens when we have that reaction in the brain, so our prefrontal cortex, our brain here, that front brain, all the executive functions, all the thinking, all the stuff that's happening now, that part of the brain gets triggered and it loses all ability to function. So you actually can't effectively function when you've been triggered. So know what triggers you. And then when you get good at that, you can start noticing what triggers other people and you can stop doing it. Oh my gosh, I can so trigger my daughter so easy. She's the easiest person in the world to trigger. Sometimes I just do it for a bit of fun to watch her. Oh, I hope she doesn't listen to this episode and should know. But she triggers. I know how I can trigger her and I can watch her reaction. She'll try and hide it, but you can tell when she's had a trigger. But then if that's in a workplace environment or in an interaction that you say you're a salesperson and you trigger somebody, they're not going to buy from you. So just understanding that people have triggers and being very careful on how you communicate and connect with people. And then for yourself, if you know your triggers, you can sort of working through them, asking yourself if they are true. Was that person really trying to wind me up about being late for work, or were they genuinely just asking me if everything was okay? We need to look and understand how and why we react to things. And that could be a reaction from somebody else some time ago, actually poking the bear for you. This could be nothing to do with this new conversation. It's baggage you've brought over from an old conversation that you've been carrying around for a long time. Maybe one of your parents did something and they used to say something like that to you and it triggers you. So be aware of what triggers you and look at it objectively. If you do feel yourself triggered, you're probably not going to be able to do it at the time, but do it afterward. And realize that it stops you being effective as a human. The next one is that bounce back connection. So the next thing for being self-aware is just having that ability to bounce back and come forward and move forward properly. Again, to be successful. I remember years ago, I've done a number of startup businesses. I've had a manufacturing company, I've had training school, I've had Pilates studios, I've had coaching businesses. So I've had numerous. I've had a property management business, so I've had quite a list. But there was one business I had and it didn't go so well. And oh my goodness, that took so long for me to bounce back from. And I couldn't even really speak about it for a while. I just felt like such a failure. I learned so much from that experience. And my but here is I could have learned that faster by reflecting faster and then letting go of it. And I suppose it's hard to let go when it's a financial setback. But if I done that, I would have moved, forward to my next business a lot faster. And I have, moved on and done numerous businesses since then. And I suppose the lesson that I learned was, it's be careful who you go into business with, always read the fine print, all the little things like that I didn't do so well. And they became my fault that it didn't really work out how it was supposed to, but it had such good legs and it was amazing what we were doing and how much we invested into it. But anyway, I just have to learn to bounce back better. So I want you to think about that. And we can think about bouncing back. Let's look at self-awareness. We can look at bouncing back faster. Let's start that first thing in the morning. And I often use the example, you get out of bed and you kick your toe on the edge of the bed and you go to the fridge and someone's taking the milk. Immediately that can trigger a reaction. When you're self-aware, you can choose to bounce back immediately. How can you do that? What can you put in place? Could it just be, okay, when that happens, I go to the bathroom mirror and I laugh at myself and I laugh and I laugh and I laugh until I'm naturally laughing, because you laugh at your stupidity. And when we do things like that, put things in place, they actually move us forward so much faster and we don't become trapped. Because if you were to choose to take that feeling of frustration, kick the toe, someone drank the milk, get in the car, you're traveling to work, whatever you're doing, or whatever it is that you're going off to golf, going to yoga, going to look after your husband, going to drive around in a paddock, whatever it is that you do for your day, when you take that baggage with you of that negative start, instead of bouncing back from it, you actually go into that with like an energy that's not great. And people feel that energy. It's like a ripple, like we drop that stone and that ripple effect from you not being able to let go of those negative feelings, you're stuck there and it taints everything else. It's like a rotten piece of fruit in the fruit bowl. That energy actually starts rotting all the other fruit. So be aware of little things that put you in a negative state that you hold on to and stay there, and find ways, just like I did, standing in front of the mirror, laughing at yourself and letting go. That's for the smaller ones. When they're the bigger ones, like a business setback, or I just this morning spoke to somebody who hoping something positive was going to happen and it didn't necessarily happen, and they were a little bit frustrated by it. It's like the quicker you can let go of that and move on, the better your life will be. So do that. Learn to bounce back better, bounce back faster. It's the whole idea of this podcast, bounce back better, and it does have a lot to do with self-awareness. I talk about it all the time. When we become self-aware, or how to become self-aware, are things like journal like a daily debrief for yourself. You could actually sit down every day and just write. Take 5 minutes just at the end of the day and write what went well, what didn't go well, what could I do differently tomorrow. I've done that for many years. What did I do well today, what I will do well tomorrow, and how I could do things differently. That is really very useful. It's a really useful tool. I actually started that with 3 things I'm grateful for. This was 3 things I'm grateful for: what I did well yesterday, what I'm going to do well today, and how I could do something differently. And often coaching people, because I use a brain-based coach, my question to them is, what could you do better? They might be saying to me, it's going really well. And then if I ask them that question, what could you do for this particular goal? What could you do better? How could you improve what's happening for you with that goal? And then pause and say nothing. So just wait for that answer to come. If you were to be honest with yourself while journaling, what could I do better around this? Perhaps you're wanting to improve your health and you're feeling really good about yourself. You're eating well and you're getting up and you've been exercising consistently 4 times a week, and that's what you'd planned, and you're feeling, yeah, I got this. So then ask yourself, so what could I do better? And you might think, well, no, I'm already doing what I said I would. No, what could you do better? Well, you know what? I could probably drink a bit more water. Maybe that's your answer. Or, you know what? I could probably go to bed a little bit earlier. So just asking yourself that question, how things could be better, it's a type of self-awareness for self-improvement and self-awareness. Another one is the honesty mirror. Oh my goodness. Have you ever asked people, friends, colleagues, for feedback? It's like a look in the mirror. You got to be ready for it though, because it's not always fun. How do you think I could improve? You've got to be ready for that answer, because not everyone likes the answers they get. And remember, that's coming from the lens of their eyes. But if you know anything about the Johari window is a model where the you that you know, and then there's the you that others know, and then there's the you that nobody knows. And there's 4 ways that you are seen. The you that everybody sees, and it's the window that you don't know about you. When you learn the things that other people know about you and you don't, it's very interesting. But even a simple way to get started on that is just to send out a text, choose a number, like 6, 7 people, 5 people, maybe 5, and say, hey, I'd love some honest feedback about where you think I could improve in my life. I'm going to bite my tongue and I'm only going to send you back a thumbs up after you send this text to me. But if you were to do that, how do you think it would go? What do you think they would say? Initially, what do you think they would say? And then how do you think you'd react if it was something that you found a little frustrating or you didn't agree with? How would you react to that? Would you have that pause before the reaction? Remember, that self-awareness, that's that level of control that we all need to foster. But that's a great way, feedback, if you are really looking at trying to work out how you can improve you and become more self-aware, is to know what other people think. And then, of course, there's the mindfulness, pushing that pause button every day and just being. Stop being a human doing and start being a human being, and just sit and relax the brain and see what comes in. Just tune out. And if you struggle with that, I've talked about it before, Yoga Nidra. There's a 20-minute one on YouTube that I absolutely love, and it does help switch your brain off. And you'll be surprised at the ideas that come flocking into your brain when you learn to do that on a regular basis. Another one, that's fabulous for self-awareness is reflection. Reflecting back on a regular basis, like I said with the journaling, but reflecting on the ripple effect. What happened when you did that? Seeing the outcomes, not just that you did that, noticing the outcome that happened because you did that. Maybe your self-awareness jam for the week, or maybe the thing that you were going to do was do the journaling and then reach out to friends. Or maybe you were going to do the decision making or reflection by watching the movie of you and making some changes to what you already do. If you were to do that and after a few weeks, notice the ripple effect, notice what happened, but write it down and see the changes in you. See what changes, see how far you've grown, what you're learning about yourself now, how much better your life is, how much more happy you are. And you've got to remember that sometimes to make changes or to become self-aware, it can be a little bit uncomfortable because there are parts of all of us that we don't like. There are things that we probably say or do that we wish we didn't, and everybody has something. So when I said earlier, like poke the bear, maybe it might feel like somebody's poking the bear, they're poking you, and it makes you uncomfortable. But when you notice that over time there is a positive change from that ripple effect, and it reaches all of your relationships, and it reaches your work, and it reaches your overall happiness, and it reaches your level of success, which just might be that feeling of, yes, I feel so much better, I'm so much happier now. So when you're doing that, when you're able to watch that self growth through the ripple effect, through making changes, then I believe that you will be happier. And just seeing what and who is affected positively will be really motivating for you. So what I'd like you to do is have a think of an area in your life where you could be more aware, somewhere where you're not really aware of you. Maybe it's how you react to stress. Maybe it's how you set your goals or don't. Maybe it's how you communicate. And just think, what small step could you take today that would enhance that journey for you, that would make your life better? Have a think about it. Are you putting things off? Are you a continual procrastinator? Do you get stuck in analysis paralysis? These are all things that will come up when you become self-aware. And then think of ways that you can move forward past that, because we can only bounce back better if we know where we are when we start. And to know where we are, we have to be self-aware of who we are and what we do. So when you're aware of how you are and aware of how you would like to be, we can then bounce back better, because we can put things in place to make ourselves bounce back better. So I would love to hear from you. And thank you to the people who replied. Got an email. Somebody emailed me actually, and I was at my laptop and I happened to email straight back. I think it was even Sunday, wasn't it? I asked a question in the last podcast and they said something, I can't actually remember what it was. But anyway, she replied straight away and I just went boom, straight back. So I encourage you all to just become a little bit more self-aware and think about how you want to be, and start adding those pieces into your life and watch how it changes. Watch the ripple effect. Watch your relationships grow. Watch your level of resilience. Watch everything change because you choose to make tiny changes. So I want to hear from you. Like I said, I want to hear the insights about me. What did I tell you today that mattered for you? And I want you to, hey, message me put a post on Instagram and tag me, the Hilary Saxton on Instagram. I would love you to put a post and tag me at Hilary Saxton on Instagram, how you are becoming more self-aware. Because if you care, be self-aware. There you go. If you care, be self-aware. Why not? So until next time, my lovely people, keep growing, keep choosing to be the person you want to be. This is about self-improvement, self-development, self-awareness. There's a lot of self in this, self-growth. And I would love for you to share it with somebody that you believe would love to listen to this podcast this week. And I can't wait to hear what goes on for you. So my friends, I hope you have a fabulous week. As usual, text a friend and tell them how blooming amazing they are. I love it when people do that. It's just so positive and it creates massive ripple effects. And we're all about the ripple as well. Alrighty, that's me done for the week. I will catch you next week. Bye for now.